we're back. It's the best time of the week. It's time for another episode of Jections. I'm your host, Andrew, here to recap a domination of Lazio in the Super Coppa. Here with Miko. Miko, how are you doing?
Hi, thanks. I'm okay. Have a little cough, but doing okay. Inter winning, so everything's fine.
Inter winning is the magical cure for everything in the world, including world peace. Irfan, what's up?
Not too much. Pretty excited. Definitely good to see a solid Inter performance after it seemed like some time, so I'll take it.
And then we've got Jay, who is coming to us live from the hottest place on earth right now, Australia. How's the heat treating you?
Yeah, it's finally cooled down. It was 40 degrees today. So for the first time today, I've ventured outside. And yeah, looking forward to talking about a very convincing performance against Lazio.
It's negative 15 here, so I'm not too sympathetic for you.
Is that Fahrenheit?
That was my Celsius conversion for you.
Oh, all right. Okay.
See, I'm adaptable. I can adjust to the audience.
Fair enough.
Let's dive into this Super Coppa game against Lazio because. So first off, Inzaghi played all the starters, which I think we all knew in the back of our souls would end up happening in this game. If he sees a trophy that he can win, he does everything possible to win said trophy. So he throws the starters out there, and I think this is
unless it's a major trophy.
Unless it's the Champions League group stage.
Unless it's a major trophy, yeah. He does it for the minor trophies like the Coppa Italia and the Super Coppa, but not the big ones.
So you can look at this game from two perspectives, I think, and if you listen to this pod regularly, I think you'll know how we split on this. So the optimistic perspective is, man, we actually came out and dominated Lazio. They should have been down 3-0 by halftime. We were creating chance after chance. I think everyone was just sitting around going, how is this only 1-0 at the break? And then shortly after the break, win a penalty and effectively put the game to bed. And the pessimistic side of looking at this game is, wow, Lazio and Sarri approached this game the way I would have, which is they did not want to be here. They collected their paycheck and got back to Italy as soon as possible. They had no interest in playing in this game. They were committing ridiculous fouls the entire first half. And despite them playing horribly, we were unwilling to take advantage of things by missing a billion chances. The truth probably lies somewhere in the middle, but I will start with the middle ground on this podcast and Irfan to let him dictate how he views the game.
Yeah, I think you summed it up pretty well. Lazio definitely, they didn't seem there mentally. They're obviously physically on the pitch, but mentally they were completely out of it. And as much as I want to take credit for Inter just completely dominating, because it really was like just wave after wave of attack. It was like a blitzkrieg attack, essentially, by Inter. And yet, I just kept thinking that I feel so bad. Like, they're so bad on the pitch. Like, they performed terribly. And so, as much credit as I want to give Inter and Inzaghi, I really do feel like Lazio just did not show up to play. And as mediocre as they are this year, they have given us and other teams some trouble. And so in the past, I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting a somewhat cagey affair, and definitely was not. We definitely missed a lot of chances, like you mentioned, but the game never really seemed like it was in doubt. I mean, we were pretty much dominant throughout. And when we play like that, it's quite a joy to watch. I will also say that system of attack it's just beautiful to watch. It's beautiful to see. I would say special shout out, just because I think we haven't seen it in a while, to Bastoni and DeMarco. Each of them individually is good and sometimes like limited, but man, when both of them are playing fluid together on that side, it is just an absolute joy to watch. I don't think there's too much in the football world right now that's better than watching both of them connecting in an Inzaghi game plan of attack. So shout out to both of them. I thought that they were completely dominant.
Miko, what about you? Glorified friendly or truly impressive performance?
Well, maybe something in middle of those. I think, as Irfan said, Lazio didn't show up, and I wouldn't take anything out of Inter's performance because Lazio was poor. I think for me, it mostly just proved that what we are capable of doing if we are given a little more space and time, and we can absolutely tear apart opponents if they are not like fighting for every ball and every challenge. Of course, the lack of finishing ability, well, that's a bit debatable, as we saw. We could have scored like 7 goals in this match at least, or that's how it felt. But all in all, I wanna always see the positive sides, and one of the positive takes for me is that I think that this match maybe didn't take too much toll for the players at the team, at least mentally, because it was a bit easier for sure, and probably even physically it wasn't as tough as a regular Serie A game, since Lazio indeed didn't show up at all.
Jay, who did you think stood out in this performance? If I were to throw a few names out there, I'd say I'd probably want to start with DeMarco, who I thought had a great game, and then I'd also think Mkhitaryan played really well. But what about you? Who do you think were the standout performers in this one? And what do you think about just maybe Inzaghi's substitutions, including his decision to this is my least favorite sub available to him that he continuously makes, which is taking off Bastoni and putting a Cherby out wide?
I can name a whole host of players beyond the handful that you mentioned because everyone played at a really high level. Barella played well. The forwards were involved, and I thought yesterday was a bit of a return to form for Darmian, who we had talked about Darmian looking a bit shaky and looking kind of old last few games and, giving away consecutive penalties, but I thought he played really well against Lazio, so that was encouraging to see. It was one of those games where like Thuram, I think, is the biggest or the best example of this. He scored the goal and he was generally okay, but then there were many times where he was caught trying to be too cute, if you know what I'm saying. And were this not somewhat of a write-off of a game, we may be less kind of forgiving about that, but we'll have to just assume he's a bit more cutting edge when it comes to real games against opponents who are actually trying. As for the substitutions, yeah, I agree. I'm never a fan of seeing a Cherby play out on the left, and I don't understand why Bisek is not being used as like a late sub for Bastoni. We all know that he played left centre back throughout his career at times, so I mean, you'd think that makes him a viable option for a Bastoni backup or replacement, but I don't know. It seems that Inzaghi prefers to use a 36-year-old caveman, not in terms of playing style, just in terms of his disheveled look that we talk about, and just refuses to give him the rest he needs by playing him pretty much every match. So yeah, I'd like to see Bissek kind of take that role. If Acerbi plays, then just let him play in the center. Don't make him play out wide and have and make him run more than he needs to. Fratesi, I think, did Mkhitaryan play another 90 minutes? I can't remember.
Yeah, didn't he assist for Tazy's goal?
He did. And look, I keep saying it, but Mkhitaryan's just the most kind of consistently impactful player to the way we play. It's not just about the numbers in terms of assists and goals or even like hockey assists or whatever, but just like the intangible fluidity that he injects into our playing style. And when I say intangible, it's not, it's blatantly tangible if you watch the game, but it's not one of these things that are really picked up on, key stats. I guess you can put it down to like carries forward or whatever you want to label it, but he's so critical in that area of our game. So it's encouraging and simultaneously a little bit concerning that we're so dependent on this one guy who turned 35 today to add pretty much the most valuable facet of our gameplay, because we look quite mechanical without him sometimes. Look, what do we expect now that we've played the strongest lineup against Lazio and just demolished them? Realistically, is Inzaghi going to play a weaker lineup against Napoli? You'd think not. And considering we have, who do we have after Napoli? But when we return to the league, is it Roma? Fiorentina, yeah. So that too away. So it's not. And then I think it's Roma and Juventus or something straight afterwards. So it's not like an easy stretch we have moving forward. So yeah, I would have liked him to be a little bit more conservative with the rotation in these two games, but it is what it is. I guess now that we're here and we're going to play the game, let's just win it in 90 minutes or lose it in 90 minutes, whatever.
If we would have put the game away a bit earlier without all those missed chances, it would have been nice to get some earlier substitutions. But unfortunately, the way Inzaghi manages, he's not going to treat even a 2-0 lead as overly safe, and as a result, he didn't really make any subs that I would say were like adventurous. Like he didn't give Buchanan a debut or anything like that. I kind of agree with Miko. We're going to see Buchanan for the first time in March at this rate.
I mean, I don't think he probably got thawed out from being in the Arctic and then going to Saudi. So hopefully Buchanan's ready to go pretty soon. I do think it was that I do think was a missed opportunity, because if I was Inzaghi, if I was Inter, I would have put like Sanchez out there for 90 minutes as like my show pony to all of the Saudi, to all 15 of the Saudi fans that were in the stands, because it would have been nice for them to kind of see that our Ferrari still has it, or whatever he is, Lamborghini. Yeah, the Lamborghini still got it, and so I would have played him for like 90 minutes straight, just to showcase his talents. But I guess we didn't do that. Shout out! I just joked about it, but shout out to that awesome crowd in Saudi that came out to see us. The stadium was just really something.
My only takeaway from all this is that somehow we're going to be paid obscene amounts of money for this tournament. $8 million if we win, I believe. Losing finalist gets $5 million. Please put that money into the transfer budget, please. That's my only appeal here.
As well as I do, that money's going straight to Man United for our leftover Lukaku payments or whatever.
Yeah, or the final installment. We probably still owe Kyrie umbrella or something, because we did a 6-year option. We can do a quick look ahead to Napoli. I mean, we need to win this game. If we play our full strength lineup, there's absolutely no scenario where we can lose this game. So Osimhen's at, I believe, I can't remember if he's injured or at AFCON, one of the two. Is AFCON happening yet?
Yeah, he's at AFCON.
Yeah, he's there.
Yeah. So Simeone is their starting striker right now. Mazzari's on their bench. You can't lose this game. It's that simple. We've talked enough on this podcast about how Napoli are just a joke product. I don't care that they beat Fiorentina. Neither team probably particularly cared about that game. Inzaghi's trying to win this tournament, so go get us our $8 million, Inzaghi. That's my view of this, if anyone disagrees.
Mazzarri phase 1 evolution is complete, where he's officially started sneaking in his fucking 3 at the back formations after being so adamant that he's just gonna, minimal adjustment to what Spalletti did. He comes in and loses a couple of games and starts to sneak in a 3-4-3 against Fiorentina, I believe, for the first time. So who knows? Maybe Limone will get taught a lesson from the master of 3 at the back, Walter Mazzarri.
It's funny you mentioned that, because I feel like every time you have an Italian manager who plays 3 at the back, they go to a different club where it's like, this time's going to be different. It's like when Conte went to Chelsea, he tried playing a 4 at the back for the first 2 months and absolutely failed at it. And then they revert back to what they know, and frankly, the performances pick up. But yeah, this is I don't know. I just can't imagine a scenario where we lose. Well, let me rephrase this. I can very much imagine a scenario, but I will not accept a scenario where we lose to this Napoli team.
Yeah, they're still definitely a work in progress under Mazzarri, and I don't think it's a work that deserves to see completion, because I don't rate Mazzarri at all. And I think that's pretty much a shared sentiment throughout you guys, if not everyone in the world. Still blows my mind that they even went for him. And look, if I was a Napoli fan, I'd be fuming. You have the chance to, pretty much like us, you have the chance to set up a dynasty to be really competitive, if not dominant, for the next few years. And your complete shithead of a president goes and inflames the entire situation, pisses off the coach who brought you the Scudetto after 30 years, forces him out essentially by being so just obnoxious and abrasive, and then hires 2 just jokes of managers in 2024, 2023, and next thing you know, your club's gone from dominant title winners to what is this, the worst title defense in the last 20 years? So yeah, look, I feel for the Napoli fans.
So as you look at this Napoli team, what are they in the table? 9th place right now. Since Mazzarri arrived, I think they've won 2 games. Like we said, their best player is not going to be available. Miko, tell me we're going to win this game 4-0.
I think we're going to start with our best team, probably the same, which started against Lazio. Or maybe they changed Dumfries to start. I don't know. Is he fit enough to start finally after waiting for what's been 2 weeks already when we waited him to start a match? But let's see. I think there's like you said, I think there's no way we will lose this match. If there's some really strange stuff happening, then we might go to penalties, but I don't see us losing at regular time. It's going to be, by the way, penalties right after regular time, so no overtimes. What's interesting for me is to see how Inzaghi is going to handle the minutes with the wing backs, because this was pretty not normal case when our wing backs played full 90 minutes against Lazio. It could be that it was because of maybe the lack of intensity of the match. They were able to play the full 90 minutes, and Inzaghi decided to give more rest to the strikers and so on. But it's gonna be interesting to see. Is there a plan already ahead to have those subs, normal 60-minute subs or whatever, for the wing backs, because if they're gonna play 90 minutes again, and then we have the Fiorentina match coming up, maybe that's a bit too much. But let's see. Gonna be interesting to see.
Do we think Dumfries' situation is related to his contract situation at all? Is he being somewhat forced out, or is it purely due to injury?
I don't believe that. I think it's purely because of the fitness issues. That's my
I
100%.
that too. It seems like it wouldn't be as useful, right, to kind of freeze him out, because I think everyone kind of expects that Inter are looking to move on, and so just kind of freezing him out and not playing him is probably not super helpful in terms of like marketing. So I think it's probably related to injuries, especially because I don't think Inzaghi likes to play Darmian there. I think he probably prefers to play Dumfries. So I think that's probably the case. That did cross my mind too, that maybe that's what's going on, but I think it's different. On the Napoli thing, the other thing I mentioned is I think Miko's right. Like we were like, we played Lazio. I felt like we were playing that like preseason match against Lugano, where we just go out and it's like a scrimmage where everyone's kind of just playing well and doing whatever they want, kind of out there. And so I don't think it was a particularly intense match. So Inzaghi did keep the wingbacks out there, which he usually, that's one of his first subs pretty consistently. So it will be interesting to see what we do against Napoli. But again, like it just really seems like we're the only team that really cares about this, and that does mean something. So unless Napoli get extremely motivated by Mazzari somehow in the next like 24 hours, I just don't see them giving us a lot of trouble, especially without a Seaman, like you guys said, he's not there. So I don't know. This to me it would be kind of a letdown at this point if we somehow didn't just it's pretty efficiently close this up and get the win, get the trophy, and get back home.
I do want to mention that we've been talking a lot about Samardzic joining Napoli, and I can't really find anything definitively as to whether or not it's going to happen. Apparently, Udinese's coach came out today and said Samardzic likely to leave, but he did score a nice goal against Milan yesterday, so he's not in Napoli's squad yet, but definitely something to keep an eye on, at least for the winter Mercato. To Jay's point, if we're really freezing out Dumfries, I would be imploring us to just sell him, because I'm not convinced he's worth a lot of money. But if you could get some money for him, it'd be nice, once again, to dream of a scenario where you can just re-inject 1/15 of it into the squad to get us a striker. So if we were actually going to freeze him out, I would say, what are you doing? Just sell him. But I'm guessing it's more of an injury concern than anything else, especially with Buchanan not having his training wheels off yet.
How much is an acceptable fee for Dumfries?
Yeah, I'd say like 15 to 20 million is what I'm expecting. I get, this is a bit of a hot take, but everyone keeps telling me these Premier League clubs are going to be lining up to sign him, and I just don't see it. If you are a neutral watching Dumfries, I don't think you're going to be blown away by his skill set, because he's not much of a natural attributes guy. He's more of an effort guy. His most notable performance against an English club was against City in the Champions League final, where he was by far one of the worst players on the pitch. That's definitely going to influence these quote-unquote English teams who are going to be lining up to sign him. He's only going to have 1 year left on his contract, I believe, once the summer Mercato hits. So I just don't envision a scenario where we get big dollars for this guy. Thankfully, Miko, is it 1 or 2 years left on his contract?
It's only 1 year.
Yeah. So the going rate for players with 1 year left on their contract is not high. So when you factor all that in, I'm not expecting a big transfer fee for him. Anything over 20 million, I'd be ecstatic. 15 to 20, I'd say this is a reasonable transfer. And I'll just add that I'm really fine with selling him, especially at the wages he's asking for. Like, I don't think this is going to be a big loss to our team at all. I just worry that if is he sufficient to cover the financial losses we're going to need if we only fetch 20 million for him? Like, is that a big enough sale to satisfy whatever Suning's random requests are for this Mercato, or is that such a paltry fee that we're going to have to go and sell something beyond him? So, Miko, tell me why we're going to sell Dumfries for 30 million.
We're gonna sell him to some English club most probably, and I would be disappointed if we don't get at least 20 million. So I'm more positive we're gonna get more money. He's a national team player, first team player for the Netherlands, and he's been a first team player for us as well for like 3 years now. So I think there's enough credentials for him to fetch a proper fee. Yeah.
We're relying heavily on credentials. Like, for what it's worth, his transfer market value is 30 million. And yeah, Miko's 100% correct in saying he's got that kind of pedigree that comes with playing for a Netherlands national team as a first choice player and Inter as a first choice player. This is an Inter that obviously made a deep run into the Champions League, or runners up in the Champions League, and became runners up in the Serie and hopefully will be. He'll be an Italian champion by the time he leaves. But yeah, I kind of agree with you guys. I still kind of fantasize about this idea of some English team popping in and just buying him for like 30, 35, but just given his contract status and the fact that he's never really lit up anyone's imagination, it is hard to see anything over like 20, 25. Have fun.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat. I think it'd be hard for us to get. I don't know, 25. 25 seems to me like a fair number. But like Andrew, I'm skeptical that we'll be able to get 20, just because, I don't know. I think if he comes back, he plays well. If we do decent in the Champions League, that'll probably help. But yeah, his contract situation's far from ideal. I think he's generally regarded a lot better than what Inter fans typically think of him. So I think that definitely helps, because he also has performed really well. Like in the last World Cup, he was really good. He performs pretty well for the Netherlands team. And, the Netherlands team is always going to be one that, garners attention from people, even though they're not nearly as good as they were, a couple decades ago. But I think he has enough there where 25 million should be extremely reasonable for someone like that. But yeah, if we can get 20, that'd be great. But I do worry about, that his sale won't be enough in this summer, and what else that means. I'm extremely, extremely concerned that they're going to try to flip Thuram. That seems to me my biggest concern. Yeah,
Thuram is already gone.
Yeah, and Hakan possibly, which also concerns me quite a bit. So those two players I'm most concerned about. If we can somehow figure out a way to not sell them, that would be the best, obviously.
It seems like Taremi is coming in, so that's
what is this?
That's the Iranian nail in Thuram's coffin.
This doom and gloom gathering around here suddenly. We are not going to sell out best players. Come on, guys.
Let's switch to optimism. I want to use a moment to toast the fallen. Let's talk about Stefano Sensi. Gone but not forgotten. Looks like he's on the verge of joining Leicester for 2 million. We haven't gotten a here we go yet, but all signs indicate that this deal is going to happen. Casady was recalled from his loan by Chelsea. He was at Leicester previously, opening up a roster spot for him. So, wow, what a scintillating Inter career. Let's talk about favorite Stefano Sensi memories while we all reminisce about the 2 good months of football he played for us. And it was quite the 2 months.
Yeah, best midfielder in Italy for 7 games. Yeah, I remember.
It was a run unlike anything I've seen in form, where he was playing like you had thought you just signed the next De Bruyne. It was it was top level stuff, and then his body completely failed him in Conte's first season.
Well, let's have that first half at the Camp Nou. That first half performance at the Camp Nou. That's it.
That was a thing to watch, let me tell you. It's just that build-up play from the back with Sensi, being the maestro in the middle, linking it up. It's honestly good work by Morata and company to get any money for him, just given his contract is out in 6 months, though. So I will give them credit for that.
I'm surprised he wants to go to Leicester in the Championship, to be honest. You'd think a player like him wants to stay in Italy, but whatever.
He's already kind of failed at a mid-level Italian club when his loan at Monza flopped, so maybe he's just ready for a new challenge. But I have absolutely zero confidence his body's going to hold up in the Premier League I'm just going to assume that the Championship, whatever they call it, is just a lesser version of the Premier League. So there's no way his body holds up over the course of a season there. But,
Did he flop in Monza, though? Or was it just injuries again? Or are they one and the same?
I think he played there, but I think he didn't play well enough that they wanted to invest. And maybe he was injured a bit there as well. I'm not really sure.
I did talk about this a bit preseason, but I'll hit on it now. I don't think he was terrible from what I saw at Monza, but Monza also signed all these ridiculous transfers 2 summers ago, including Sensi. And the majority of the transfers had these loans that became obligations if they if they avoided a relegation. And as a result, they had to fork out a ton of money in the summer to make those obligations whole. So you can see why they passed on signing Sensi when they were pretty much the highest spenders in the league by taking up all these loan obligations.
Rest in peace.
And about Leicester, I think they're gonna go back to the first division or the Premier League. They're leading the table pretty convincingly. And
can you guys think of any player for Inter that has been that has kind of suffered the same kind of fate as Sensi? The only one that pops into my mind is Ricardo Alvarez, where he came out and I felt like he wowed a lot of Inter fans with his skill, and it was just refreshing because of where we were at the time. And then he completely flamed out and got injured and just completely tanked his entire career. And I can't think of anybody else recently who suffered a similar fate.
Alvarez example is the best comparison. Alvarez, because I don't think Alvarez wowed anyone to begin with. I thought he came on and people were just what the fuck am I looking at? We thought he was some kind of fast right winger because we had Gasparini at first and we thought we were going to play 3-4-3 with Snyder as left wing and Alvarez as right wing forward, and then we realized he was probably slower than Snyder at that stage, and he just didn't play at any level comparable to what Sensi played at. So I don't think there was much of a, Sensi was started on this amazing high and then had this fall, whereas I don't think Alvarez ever had that high to begin with. I reckon, honestly, the closest comparison is probably Coco, who just got injured and just never played. Sensi's Inter career has been a zero other than the first 2 months. I mean, he's played sporadically here and there. He had that goal to send us through to the Coppa Italia semis. I think it was against Genoa or something, but or maybe it was against Samp, I can't remember. But in any instance, he had that moment. But other than that, what did he do during the entire 3-4 years other than that first 7 or 8 games, So I feel, looking back, I'm almost emotional. No, not really. But those were some good fucking games, man. The first 2 months.
And was it the Juve match when we lost him?
Yeah, he got injured during Juve.
Yeah, and then they won us at Meazza. Or was it Meazza?
Yeah, they beat us 2-1, yeah.
Yeah, that was tough.
I think that was Bastoni's debut as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, true.
Sensi, that was still the closest player we have to a Mkhitaryan replacement. What you guys say?
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely agree with that.
Man, it's one of those things where, like, once you've had such an injury record, you can't trust the guy to be all there mentally. Like, there were reports that he was, I don't know, playing Fortnite or like, pretending to be injured or something. The guy has some psychological trauma at this point. He's clearly afraid to put 100% effort into training sessions and stuff because he's worried about getting injured again. And honestly, it's like, can you even blame him for that? So a lot of regret, but definitely the right thing to do to ship him off. And, to be honest, we should have shipped him off 2 years ago, but whatever.
If I can offer up one player who I think kind of meets the mold of like Sensi's career at Inter, I'll go with Nagatomo, just in the sense that dude's first few matches, I think, were like considered a breath of fresh air amongst Inter supporters. I remember watching, I think it was against Palermo, and the neutral commentator, we were up maybe 3-1 at this point. The neutral commentator was imploring Nagatomo to go forward and score one because like he's played such a good game, he deserves the goal. And I think we all thought we kind of had something. We had signed this nobody from Jazina. It's like, okay, maybe we have a wingback of the future. And then it's just complete lack of physical abilities. Like, he just has no talent. He was just a try-hard, and that kind of prevailed at the end of the day. But I think his first few matches, everyone was like, oh, wow, like this guy can play. He couldn't, but it was a good first few matches.
Yeah. In hindsight, that actually describes a lot of Inter players over that banter period, doesn't it? You've got even Guarin. Guarin. Everyone was so hyped at Guarin when we signed him from Porto, and then he was injured for like, when we signed him, he was injured and he didn't play until like the last couple of games of the season. I think we signed him in January, if I'm not mistaken. And then he had quite an impact. And then when the following season started in earnest, everyone was like, so this is actually what, the reality is. And it felt like a big come down from the initial hype.
Yeah, Jovetic too, I think, is another good example. He came out.
Brilliant Jovetic.
Yeah, he came out like guns blazing. We're like, okay, we're not missing anything here. Third line is set, and then just completely tailed off.
Yeah, I think he
Him
scored
and Icardi were just incompatible with each other, like from a characteristic standpoint. I think they were just too slow together.
Personality standpoint as well. I don't think either of them liked each other very much. I remember at that time, I swear to God, at that time, we had Brozovic, Jajic, Jovetic, and Perisic, and I swear all the Balkans hated Icardi. And they resented the fact that they had to play to suit his kind of quite straightforward style, if you know what I'm saying. Like, I've always said Icardi's got kind of underrated technicality, but at the same time, it's not this kind of, fluid, roaming, give and go kind of tiki-taka type forward. And it's clear that the Balkans wanted to play in a bit more of a progressive possession style, and I feel like they didn't like having to kind of compromise that to just essentially spoon-feed chances for Icardi to finish, and whatever, the rest is history, I guess.
So anyway, Sensi, gone, not forgotten. We'll always have those wonderful 2 months. And as you'll hear right now in our interview with Thomas from Inter Xtra, it sounds like Sensi is probably the last domino to fall in this transfer window. We're not really expecting much else. But I will pause here and cut you guys over to our interview with Thomas from Inter Xtra. Very happy that he rejoined the podcast, gave us some insights from him following our Mercato.
We're joined again by Thomas, the man behind Inter Xtra. Thomas is our friend of the pod. He was on during the summer Mercato. Happy to welcome him back during the winter Mercato. Thomas, how are you doing, sir?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. I'm happy to be back. Love doing this stuff.
Yeah, no, really appreciate it. So before we dive into all fun things Mercato, I want to touch on your life over on your Twitter account, because it looks like there's been a few changes. You now have a website. Want to maybe talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. The website's something I've been working on with a few different people it started, I think, last summer, not this past summer, the summer of 2022. And it kind of, I worked with someone else to build it and design it. And then this summer I was kind of like, well, I got busy with different things, and now it's kind of come back to life, and I really put a lot of effort and work into it these past few months. And yeah, I was really happy to be able to launch it at the beginning of January.
And what's the website going to offer? Is it going to be expanded news from your Twitter accounts? Is it going to have your own thoughts and feelings? What's the plan of attack?
Yeah, pretty much right now we're trying to do a few different articles a day covering just different market stories, news, things surrounding the club. And then, yeah, and also we're doing like, match previews, match recaps, and player ratings, different things like that, just kind of opinion based. And then, yeah, definitely have plans to do maybe some exclusive things, reach out to different people, maybe some different interviews through connections I've made. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
Now, I saw you, I think, absorbed Serpents of Madonina. Are you affiliated with SB Nation, or is that just kind of a separate endeavor?
No, yeah, that's kind of separate. I think they were kind of, I don't know if I can say this, but I don't know, something was happening between them and SB Nation, and the writers at Serpents kind of approached me, and they knew that I was doing the project with my own site, and they kind of asked if they could come over and help me out, seeing that they were kind of more experienced sports writers, figuring that I've like never done anything like this before. So yeah, I was happy to welcome two of the guys there, and they've been really great help. And yeah.
Okay, yeah, awesome. No, it's nice to see another English-based website pop up. I feel like we don't have too many of those available on the web, so definitely a place worth going to for contents. So we'll want to get your thoughts. For those of you listening who don't know, Thomas is from Canada, and somehow, some way, Inter has signed a Canadian. Never thought we'd see that in our lifetime, I'm sure.
No.
Tajon Buchanan, the right wing back. So what's the scouting report? What can we expect from this guy?
Well, yeah, I mean, like you said, I never, ever thought, Inter would be signing a Canadian. But I guess, I don't know, it kind of makes sense with Canada's quote unquote golden generation now. Got a lot of good talented names. But yeah, Tajon Buchanan, he's one of the players I've been kind of most excited about the past few years, when Canada's kind of been coming up through the ranks and, after qualifying for the World Cup and stuff. Yeah, I'm sure many listeners know, but yeah, he used to be a forward, he's a recently converted wing back, I guess, from a winger previously. So he's really good going forward, really pacey, technical, skillful. I saw someone refer to him online like he's got the Ivan Perisic step overs, kind of. He has that same, I don't know, he's got him on lock, kind of. That's his go-to move. But yeah, and then at Club Bruges, he's kind of been converted back to a fullback, wing back. And yeah, I think that's what Inter kind of saw in him, and that's where they want to use him. So I'm really excited to see what he can do and what he can bring to the team.
Do you think he can be a long-term replacement for Dumfries, given those contract negotiations seem to be going nowhere fast?
Yeah, I think from what I've read and heard, I think that's the plan. Yeah, if Dumfries doesn't agree to a new contract, likelihood is he'll be sold in the summer. And I guess what the management team has thought is they secure Tajon now, and he kind of settles into the team, learns the system, the language, and then if Dumfries is sold in the summer, then Tajon's already kind of there as a ready to go replacement. But yeah, I think they're very different players, and Tajon, I don't know, he's very raw, I think, still. But yeah, definitely in the long term, I think his mentality is really good, and he can learn. He's ready to learn and work. And so, yeah.
Is this going to move the needle in Canada as far as like Inter's footprint goes? Or are people going to start tuning into our matches, or at least pay closer attention to us? Or does Canada not really have enough name brands? Like, do you think this is going to gain us a small following in Canada?
I think so. Yeah, definitely small. I know, for now at least. I know, like, if you go to, I've been to several Canada national team games here in Toronto and stuff, and there's people wearing Alphonso Davies Bayern jerseys, which is the most of the jerseys you see other than Canada. But then as these players go to these different teams and play on the biggest stage in the world, in the Champions League, and they're competing for the biggest trophies, then yeah, I think it'll definitely turn heads, and hopefully a lot of people will tune in to watch the players. Yeah.
Fun fact is Canada is our third largest audience as a podcast when you break down the demographics. So
Cool.
I like to think there's some Inter fans there, just maybe not, a ton, but hopefully some more to come.
Yeah, I think there's a pretty big. I mean, of course, there's a pretty big Italian population in Toronto, and yeah, hopefully, and I'm sure there's a lot of Inter fans out there.
So as we start looking at the rest of the winter Mercato, it might be reasonable to not expect much more. A lot of fans are clamoring for a forward based on the play of Sanchez and Arnautovic. Based on what you've been aggregating and reading, do you think a forward is in play, or do you think we're going to roll with Sanchez and Arnautovic?
I think from what I've seen, it's probably unlikely a forward is brought in. Although, yeah, I agree. And people were thinking even ahead of Buchanan, like we need a forward more than anything. And I don't know about more than Buchanan. Obviously, I'm a bit biased, but yeah, I definitely agree we need a forward. I've been seeing here and there that, with Agume, and if Sensi is sold permanently to what's looking like he might go to Leicester now, then maybe there will be enough that little bit of funds we can use to bring in a forward, if it's like a loan deal or a free transfer. I know some people have been saying just to keep an eye on the last week of the market for any opportunities that might come up. But yeah, other than that, there's probably not much that's going to be happening.
Well, while there might not be many signings for this winter, which if you listen to the pod, we're not too keen on. We'd like to see someone else brought in. But it looks like there is a possibility there's some pickups for the summer on tap here. Lots of links to Zelensky, lots of links to, is it Taremi, the Porto forward? Mm-hmm. Do you have any thoughts on those two as players, and do you think they're good signings for the team?
Yeah, I think Zielinski is kind of perfect. He suits the midfield really well. He's going to slot in right when, if Mkhitaryan is out of contract in 2025, and Zielinski's right there. He's a seasoned Serie A vet, won the league with Napoli. He's a starter. I think he really comes in and fits perfectly into our midfield. And that'll be good just going forward. Of course, on a free transfer too, that helps even more. And then Taremi, I don't know too much about him. I haven't watched Porto all that much, but from the numbers I've seen, he's been really good over the past few years in the Champions League as well. I remember that bicycle kick he scored, I think, against Chelsea a few years ago. That was pretty crazy. And yeah, also on a free. And then, of course, I think Sanchez is only on a 1-year deal, so he's out of contract. Taremi comes in on a free. And then, yeah, I guess I don't know what we'll do with Arnautovic, but yeah.
My concern primarily with Taremi, I guess, is that I'd like to see his sign. I think the squad lacks pace a little bit and just creativity, a little bit of a spark plug off the bench.
Yeah. And
I'm worried Taremi's game is more like a bit of an old man's game. It's more of the Zeko mold than it is of the, I don't know, who's a good equivalent. Just trying to think of a firecracker forward, like a Felipe Anderson. It's not really going to be an injection of pace onto the pitch. That's my kind of concern with the signing.
I definitely see where you're coming from there. I know his assist numbers have been pretty good, so I don't know if he's a kind of drop deep and carry the ball and link up. Like I said, I don't know too much about him, but yeah, he is. I think he's 32 or 33, and doesn't have that pace that our team so lacks so much. But
yeah, safe to say.
Yeah.
So we've got this Super Coppa coming up on the weekends. I'm curious where you're at. Do you care remotely about this competition? Do you want the prize money, or is this a just get out unscathed for you? Where do you value this trophy on the Parthenon of possibilities?
Yeah, I think it's pretty much that. It's not too high on my priority list, and I'm sure it's not high on anybody's priority list as well. I think Inzaghi has a pretty good record in it, and I saw there's some record or something. If he wins it, he'll become maybe like the winningest manager or something. I don't know, something like that. But yeah, especially with Juve like right on our tails there, and then they'll play this weekend, and if they win, assuming they win, they'll go above us, above game in hand, like all that. It's just kind of like, was it last season? No, 2 seasons ago, with the whole game in hand kind of, everyone was assuming we would win. It's kind of like PTSD from that. And then especially now with this Juve, like they don't look like they're slowing down at all. They have 1 game a week. They're bringing in, who are they bringing aside from Thiago Giallo? Like they have a strong team. Like, I don't know. Yeah. I think it's, if we do well and we come out with no injuries and nothing like that, then fine. But if it's like, I don't know, if there's anything more than that, then it's going to be like, okay, why did we put our effort into this when we have other priorities and other targets?
I think a lot more people would support this if it was a preseason tournament like it was, intended to be back in the day, as opposed to we're stopping the season to fly to the Middle East in January.
Yeah, is I know what the semifinals on Friday. Is the next one is the final? Do you know when that is? Is it Monday?
Yeah, it'd be Monday evening.
So yeah, it's like 2 games in like 4 days, and then we fly back. Then I don't know, next game the following weekend. So I don't know. It's a lot of, I don't know. That's just a lot.
So if you were Inzaghi setting the lineup for this thing, how would you approach it? Are you starting Sanchez and Arnautovic together? Would you roll out the regular starters? Like, how would you approach this?
I don't know about I would probably go a mix, maybe half and half. Maybe like an Arnautovic with a Thuram or something like that. Or maybe even Lautaro. Thuram looked kind of tired to me last match. I don't know what's going on, but definitely some rotation. Definitely not giving it my all. And then kind of like, if we win, great. Then maybe I would roll out the starters, because if we're going to be in the final, then okay, may as well try to win it. And also, who is it? Napoli. We're assuming Napoli is going to be in the. Who are they? Are they playing Fiorentina?
Yeah, I'm actually assuming Fiorentina is going to win that game, because Mazzarri is a bit of a joke.
Yeah, actually, that's true. So I mean, yeah. Either way, I think we would be the favorite on those teams. So if we're going to be there, we may as well try to win it. But for the semifinal, I'd give it some rotation. It's kind of like that game in the Champions League, the Benfica one. Was it 3-3? We put out the entire B team.
Yes.
Whatever happens. We don't need to win. Kind of like that. That's my same mentality.
Of course, there's odd scheduling quirk that's if Fiorentina makes the final, and if we play Fiorentina in the final, they're also our next Serie A game, because
is that right?
The way the schedule lies, so be playing them back to back.
Oh, I didn't even realize that. I didn't know who. Oh yeah, actually that's right. True. Oh, I didn't even think about that actually.
Yeah, just very inconvenient all around.
And Çalhanoğlu's already suspended for that next Serie A match as well.
That's right. So we can, I don't know, probably expect Asllani to start, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
So as you look forward to the rest of the season here, obviously we're out of the Coppa Italia. We have Atletico coming up in February for the Champions League, and Juve breathing down our necks in the Scudetto. Do you dare to look into the crystal ball and offer some predictions for how the season's going to shake out?
I think that our match against Juve in the coming weeks, I know we play them. I think it's February, beginning of February. I think that is the game that decides the Scudetto pretty much. I hope and I pray and I keep my fingers crossed that we end up with the second star, but I don't know. It's not looking like Juve are going to slow down, and if our backup forwards can't produce, and we have to rely on Lautaro and Thuram all season, and we can't afford any injuries, and I don't know what's going to happen if something like that happens. I feel like the wheels will come off, and then you never know. But yeah, so I hope for the second star. I think the Juve game will be kind of the decider, even though it's still pretty early, but still. And in the Champions League, it's kind of like if we win, if we beat Atletico, it's great. If not, I'm not super upset about it.
I'm noting a little hint of pessimism on the league front. It sounds like you're a little pretty concerned.
I don't know. I mean, you know as well as I do, these guys don't have the greatest records. Going and going. It's other than that one Conte season where we won, but I don't know. We'll see. I think we can do it. I hope we can do it.
if anything else, I'd like to see some justice in the world for this just brutal, ugly brand of football like replays. Just for that to be rewarded, there has to be some sort of karma in the universe, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Well, appreciate the time, Thomas. What was the URL for your website in case the listeners want to check it out?
It's interxtra.com. There's no E in the extra. So it's inter, then xtra.com.
Awesome. Well, once again, appreciate the time, man. We'll have to catch up with you in the summer once their Mercato window opens again in July.
Of course, yeah, we'd love to.
All right. Catch you then, man. Have a good one.
Thank you. You too.
Let's get some predictions for the Supercoppa final before we move on to a preview of Fiorentina. So, Jay, what do you have in the Supercoppa final?
I don't know. It's a hard one. I think we could blow them out of the water again. So I'm going to go 3-0 again. Goals from Buchanan. I don't know. I feel like we're getting a lot of penalties these days, much to the chagrin of Milan and Juventus fans. So I'll say 3-0 Inter. All 3 goals, Çalhanoğlu penalties.
Maratha League everywhere.
Exactly. Maratha Saudi League. Yeah.
Am I crazy, or did I read something that like Hakan was like fighting through a muscle issue and might miss this match?
Oh yeah, he asked to be subbed or something.
Yeah, but
Fucking
the
hell.
latest was that it's okay. There's no pain or anything. So
Okay, yeah, because like we were saying last week, I'd actually start him in this match and play him 90 because he's suspended for the first Serie A match back anyway.
Exactly. Yeah. And in that case, we should have started Asllani against fucking Lazio, but whatever.
Yeah, that's what I would like to see. But anyway, now he's gonna start for sure.
All right, what's your prediction, Miko?
Well, for Lazio, I went 2-2, and it was like not even close. I think I'm gonna go with 3-0 as well. We're gonna be convincing enough. It's not gonna be as easy for sure, but Napoli's gonna definitely try to win it, but they just can't. We beat them. Just like we beat 3-0 them last time as well. I think we did. So I'm gonna go with 3-0, and Lautaro is gonna score a couple, and then Çalhanoğlu penalty. That's the default option.
That's the chalk prediction, as they say.
Yeah.
What's your prediction, Andrew?
Yep, 1-1 draw, followed by winning on penalties via Sanchez Cocayo.
Oh god, I just don't want it to go to extra time and penalties. I just want it to be done in 90 minutes.
There's no extra time. It's just penalties.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't want to throw this podcast off topic once again, but I'd love for you guys to sit here and just think to yourselves, who would be our 5 penalty takers, and just be absolutely laughing to yourself by the time you get to your third name.
Lautaro first, so we can recover from his inevitable miss.
Yeah, get out of the way.
And then Sanchez is like a 1 in 10 success rate, so I guess we'll put him second.
Sanchez might be the worst penalty taker left in Europe, major leagues, now that Zeko's in Turkey.
Oh yeah. You know what? I saw someone going through like the list of current Inter players. The best is percentage-wise is actually Asllani with 100% success rate. And then Arnautovic is surprisingly impressive. He had I think he had like a 90% success rate as well. I think he had like 18 penalties scored out of 20 attempts or something. So that's pretty fucking impressive.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Of course, if Arnautovic is on the pitch, that likely means Thuram is not.
Exactly.
Yeah. I actually just want to ponder this, that I would say that Çalhanoğlu would take the first shot, because you want to have the best shot first. I think they do that. usually these days. And
Here
then
I was thinking you should go Roma in the Europa League final and just start Bastoni, Cherby,
Four
Pavard,
center backs.
Sommer, yeah. Those fucking Mongoloids here.
and Lautaro would be the last one because he was the last one for Argentina in the World Cup, and he get the shot for once, and in the final he didn't have to. But I think
Lucky
he has
for them.
he has the mental capacity to do that, even if the actual shot is maybe not the perfect one.
As exciting as it would be for like all 20 fans watching in the stadium, hopefully it doesn't come to penalties.
about the fans, I think it was well not sold out, but it was much more like better than I guess the Napoli Fiorentina, which had like less
That
than
one was
10,000 attendance.
The stadium looked 3/4 empty.
Yeah, I mean, you got to put yourself in people's shoes. If you were a football fan, I'm going to assume everyone in this country is an English Premier League fan, and they're just buying this tournament because this is all they can afford. So if you had two like firmly mid-table Serie A sides roll to town, would you go pay your hard-earned money to see them play? And I think the answer for the average person is no. So I give them a pass as we collect our juicy $8 million tournament fee. Speaking of Fiorentina, let's dive into it. So they're our first game back after the break. We play them next Sunday, so you have almost a full week to rest. Everything should be fine in that regard. We've already mentioned Hakan is suspended. I believe that's the only notable absence we're expecting. Hopefully Dumfries will be back starting by this point. Fiorentina are playing well. Last I checked, they were actually in a Champions League spot, which is perhaps a little surprising given their squad, which I would not describe as impressive. But they're hanging in there. They're a point ahead of Atalanta. They're a point ahead of Lazio, and as a result, they're competing for Champions League spots. Their leading goal scorer this year and noted Inter killer is Irfan's favorite player, Bonaventura. He absolutely owns us. We talked in the first leg of this fixture about how much he just dominates and loves scoring against us. So glad to see that's translating to other teams in the league this year. Some other notable players in their squad. They're starting this Argentinian kid, Beltran, as their striker right now. I'm honestly not super familiar with his game. This is his first year in the league, but he's started 11 matches for them and is their second leading goal scorer. He's only 22 years old, so it seems like they might have something there. He was their replacement for the forward they sold to Portugal, whose name I can never remember, Cabral.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's Fiorentina in a nutshell. They're going to play a open attacking game. This isn't a team who's going to sit back and invite us to attack them. They're going to try taking it to us a little bit. Miko, anything you want to add on Fiorentina?
Yeah, I think that they've been like surprisingly good this season, obviously, when looking at the standings. I think Italiano has changed a bit his football, and is not so ideological with his like offensive ball playing thing, and they are focusing a bit more on the defensive side as well. They've had a bunch of clean sheets in this season, and as said, pretty good results in general. But I just looked their results recently, and they haven't won like past 4 games. They lost to Napoli, then they drew with Udinese at home. At Bologna they went to the Coppa Italia. They won Bologna at penalties 0-0. Then they lost to Sassuolo 1-0 away. So they haven't been having like good results recently, but in general in the season it's been very very good for them. So I don't know what to expect. It's been a bit tough ground for us, I think. that match usually. And was it last season the 3-4 epic epic match, which I remember it felt like it was in the bag, and then we just gave it away with some horrible defending. And then then right in the end they like saved us.
Was that when the guy like cleared the ball into Mkhitaryan's feet or something like that? Like
yeah, or Mkhitaryan shot it wide and then he scored the own goal or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't remember
that
how
was
it was.
2 seasons ago.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, the first leg against Fiorentina this year was the 4-0, just complete domination of them back in August.
Yeah, but I remember last season this fixture, this away fixture.
Yes.
meant that
We're
season.
saying the same thing.
Yeah,
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it was Jovic was equalized at 19 minutes, and then Mkhitaryan had this goal, 90 plus 5. But yeah, let's hope it's not gonna be like that, and a bit easier.
Lautaro does like scoring against Fiorentina. Certainly, if I recall, did he not score against them twice in the cup final last season? I can't remember.
Yeah, he scored both goals.
So F1 predicts 2-0. Miko?
I'm gonna go with 2-1 for us. And Lautaro gonna score 1 and then Thuram. I can't go with Çalhanoğlu this time, so maybe Lautaro is gonna miss a penalty.
You took the words out of my mouth. I was going to predict a Lautaro missed penalty.
For me, this is the turning point in the season where it all goes downhill. This is where
Dude, come on.
This is where Inzaghi's ludicrous decision to play the first team in the worthless Super Coppa comes back to bite us, and we slump to a 1-0 loss. Own goal by Aslani. I think
you're fine. I think you're in a bubble with this Islamic criticism. I think it's not so bad.
It just means he speaks to Jay too much.
Pretty much. I think this could have the potential to be a close affair, to be honest. Honestly, and no trolling, I think this could go down to the wire like a 2-1 or like a 1-1 kind of thing. I don't think we'll win like 3-0, 2-0 comfortably. I think given the tough schedule of flying to and from Saudi Arabia and the fact that we're probably due a slight blip in the league, I could see us drawing, but I'm going to be optimistic and say 2-1 to us, but I can just as equally see a 1-1 draw as well.
But which one is it? You need to pick.
All right, 1-1.
Okay, so off with the optimism.
I will wait to predict our demise until we play Juve in a couple weeks. We won't collapse until that point. So I will take a 1-0 victory over Fiorentina with a goal from Mkhitaryan late in the game. I think it's going to be a sleepy affair where it takes us a little while to get off the grounds, but once we do, we're able to take 3 points away, setting up probably the biggest match we've had in the league since I couldn't even tell you when. It will be the biggest match in quite a few years.
Look,
but
I'm not the only one who sees this game as being potentially kind of turgid, right?
Yeah, it's a combination of we've been playing our starters in these quote unquote unnecessary games. You're flying, from the Middle East and back against a more rested Fiorentina team, because I believe they postponed Fiorentina's fixture this week, anticipating, what if they make the Super Coppa final? Obviously, they didn't. So they're gonna have extra rest. It's a recipe for failure in many ways.
That said, like you did say, Andrew, there's almost a full week of rest. So, do those excuses hold any water?
The only real excuse I can offer is it's really hard to come down from the emotional high after winning the Super Coppa, so it might be just hard to refocus the boys' energy back on, a meaningless competition.
The heads are going to be up in the clouds following
this
that.
Is what every boy goes to bed at night dreaming about.
Exactly.
This is lifting the Super Coppa in Saudi Arabia.
In front of 300 people, yeah.
But I think there's a point in a sense that Juve plays today, and then they play next weekend before us. So they played like 2 matches more than us when we play Fiorentina. So in that sense, I think there's a legit claim that it's extremely important and like a very, very pressured situation for the team this match, and they absolutely need to clear this one, because if we don't or won't win this one, it's gonna be like full chaos in the media that okay, now Juve is back and they are like how do you say, storming to the Scudetto, and Inter is faltering and it's meltdown Inter. So it's gonna be really, really important to win this match. And
I see no lies.
I think mentally it's gonna be bigger one in a sense than just a normal Fiorentina match, because there's this too much caution when we step onto the pitch.
I'm also predicting a Buchanan debut against Fiorentina, by the way. Not as a starter, but as a sub.
If I could bet against that, I would put a lot of money on it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's wrap it up there. Thanks everyone for listening. We'll be back next week. These Sunday evening fixtures prevent a bit of a logistical thing for us due to our Australian in residence. But we'll figure something out for you. Get your Fiorentina recap and, of course, a preview to the big match against Juve coming up. So look forward to that. And thanks again, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Yeah.